Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. We're back with the Ted Show. It's just another manic Monday here in rainy, wet Orlando, Central Florida area. But I'm super excited to have on this guest, Mandeep Kaur. Welcome to the show. Very excited to
Thank you,
talk
Ted.
about engaging remote employees, all of the good stuff you do, because guess what? I think everybody's been touched by the whole going remote thing during the
Right.
pandemic. And
Mhm.
so this topic couldn't be any better because I think people are feeling that exhaustion from Zoom meetings and exhaustion from having to maybe go back to the office, and they're a little scared of that. So there's a lot of
Right.
things going on that people are thinking about. So the timing's perfect. But enough about me. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for having me on the show. A little bit background on myself. I'm the owner of Beyond Outsourcing. It's an organization that myself and my partner had kicked off about 3 years ago. And I have about 15 years of corporate experience, had managed offshore teams for a while, and we decided to take this initiative of kicking off this organization with virtual assistants, virtual employees, and all our services are provided from India, so it's offshore. All our clients are here in the US. And the reason we decided to kick this off is because we wanted to bridge the gap between the supply and the demand. So we have a lot of business owners, especially small business owners here, that are struggling to make ends meet. And as you know, you probably heard our president say this many times, these small business owners are what keeps our economy moving forward, right? So our initiative was to help these small business owners, help reduce their cost and also at the same time grow their business and get more time back in their schedule as well to help keep growing that business in the core, focus on their core activities instead of more of the administration that they're doing to keep the business running. And on the flip side, being in a foreign country, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Indian market, but there's not a big push to get women in the corporate world. They're usually in the back end where they're raising the kids or helping with the household duties. So we wanted to empower them as well. So we wanted to help them get into the corporate world, support their families, bring in an income, be independent, but at the same time, help our organizations here grow as well. So our organization has all of our clients are here in the U.S., based in East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, all over. And right now, as you said, is the perfect time to discuss this topic.
All right, so
Even
I
though,
have questions for you though. We had a couple questions before we went live, and then I want to take a deep dive because everything you're saying is resonating, and I know that we have so many people. I know business owners are trying to figure that out, trying to cut costs, trying to stay afloat in any way they possibly can. So
right.
I love the whole solution part here. But people wanted to know, how do you get into outsourcing? How did you? I mean, obviously you weren't 4 years old and said, I want to own an employee outsourcing company. What was the journey like along the way to get here?
So the journey actually started, I was helping a friend. She was a small business owner, and she, just like any other small business owner, she was struggling. She was working, 80 hours a week and just making ends meet, right? And I had the corporate experience of managing offshore teams. So I pitched this idea to her that let's give this a try. Let's take your organization all paperless, and then let's try to get you employees that will help you reduce your costs and help you manage your business around the clock, right? Because even when you're sleeping, with the India time difference, there's about 11 and a half hour difference that they could be running your business while you're sleeping. So it took me about 6 months to get all her business paperless and then implement the whole training and making sure streamlining all her processes. That was where I started. And that was just helping a friend. And then I'm like, okay, if we could help her, why can't we expand this to a greater audience, right? And so for me, it all started, even the organization, it's based off of giving back to something bigger than yourself. It's not me making a profit. It's more about helping the business owners, and at the flip side, helping these individuals in India that really need the job, that really need the funds to support their family, support their education. So yeah, this is how I got into it.
there's so many things that I want to ask you because I have engaged. I think people are looking for ways to cut, like we both said. They're looking for ways to streamline what they do, work on the stuff that actually brings them in money, and then have somebody else handling that peripheral stuff that is all administration like. But people don't know how to do it. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know how to engage in it. The first taste a lot of people got were organizations like Fiverr that became very popular. And so people began to understand how to use transactional relationships like that. But what kind of people can come to you? Does it have to be a large organization? Does it have to be somebody with 100 employees or more? Or can it be the mom and pop that is just trying to pay the bills and wants to stay afloat?
Yeah. So actually, we're focused more on the mom and pop. So small to mid-size is what we're focused on. And the reason I say that, there's already large organizations that are going after the corporate world, right? But we want to actually help the individual, the mom and pop shops that maybe are not as tech savvy as some of these bigger organizations, right? Or maybe don't know how they could use these virtual services to support their efforts. But anything, well, for the last 6 months, we know that anything could be taken remote because, because of COVID has helped us justify that very quickly, right? But anything from your payroll to your accounting, more even your executive assistant, answering your calls, taking your email, checking your emails, anything can be done remote, honestly. There's very few things that you can't really take out of, from their office environment into a remote environment.
So before we get to the actual some questions we had about specific jobs, the number one question before we went live was about security. So it's one thing if you've got people in your office, and I know that it's secure because I have utilized outsourcing before. But for the mom and pop who maybe has only had, the one person who's done their books for 30 years, or they've had everybody in a small office to trust somebody on the outside to take some of these, there's a hesitation. Can you kind of address that and talk about how you talk through that and what security is in place to make sure that they're protected?
Right. So when I talk to a client, I will take them through the whole security process. And at a high level, your information is very secure. These days, anything that goes over the border, these are the virtual borders. Your data is going from the US to any other country. There's very strict laws that help you monitor that security. And with our organization, everything's in the cloud, so end-to-end encryption. At the same time, we also use VPN and other forms of security where you could only log in from our office. You could only log in with certain tokens or certain passwords. It's not, you can't just take the information and go anywhere. So the reason our organization focuses on, even though you're having a virtual employee, that employee is still working from my office in India, using my equipment, and we're monitoring what the data is, where the data is going, when it's coming in, how it's going out. So it's very secure. But when I meet with my clients, I also take them through the whole process of how their data is going to come in and how we monitor it.
I love it because I think that was my own personal first hesitation, because I felt like there wouldn't have been a big company in these, I trust first. So of course it was a little easier for me, but once I did it, I felt completely good. And so what I want to encourage people to do is to talk to Mandeep and figure out where you're at and what types of tasks and jobs that are really bogging you down. And that's what she's also a pro at, because she'll help you evaluate, all right, here's where you're spending the majority of your time that may not be what's driving the business in.
Exactly.
And so I want people to understand that this is a relationship with you and your company, and you're really helping to create a much easier transition to this. And then I feel like what I've felt is that once I did it once, I almost became addicted, because then you're like, oh my God, I can afford this and it's taking all of this off of my plate. It's an
Mhm.
amazing thing, and it makes you feel so good. And then you can focus on the things you do best. Like for me, it's driving business it's the
Right,
relationships. I need somebody to take care of all the stuff around it. It takes a
right,
village to take care of
right.
Ted, and it does for most companies.
Right, right. And I have clients. I have clients who, like you said, are addicted to the concept. They keep hiring more and more employees because they know how easy it is to do it.
Yeah.
One, how easy, and then two, that their information is secure. And I have clients who tell me that your team is the backbone of our country. So, sorry, of our company. So if we don't have your team, then our company is not going to run. That's how addicted or dependent people become on these processes, on these employees. They're just an extension of your team. So if they might not be in your office, you might not see them every day face to face, but they're extension of your team. They're devoted only to your tasks, to your work, and only your company. That's what, the unique thing about my employees are, they're only focused on your company. They're not focused on a number of different clients. We make sure that each employee, whatever employee I hire for your organization is only going to be working on your tasks.
And are the tasks, I love that. And that's a great point that I want to reiterate. They're working on your tasks, guys and gals. So this is part of your team. It's an extension of your team, however you want to phrase it. But their goal for you is to take care of you and the tasks that you all have established up front that they would take care of. Micromanaging them is not a good idea. That's what Mandeep does, right? So you have to be able to go in and release a little bit and go, all right, I'm trusting the process. But I can tell you that from my personal experience, it's been a godsend. I have somebody who helps me with the Facebook, as some of my old friends say, social media. They can do everything from you were mentioning emails. Tell us some of the things that as a business owner bears down on the business owner that you all can come in and kind of help with.
So one of the biggest thing is, as a business owner, you're always taking the customer service calls. So those calls could be routed to our office where the employee is taking the calls. You don't have to get burdened with every single customer service question or complaint or feedback that you're getting. And the other thing is we have dispatching clients that are from security companies. They are dispatching from India. So any security calls that are coming in, they're being dispatched from India. So they're calling the officials here, the police. If there's an incident, they're contacting the police. They're putting the report together, everything from over there. So if a security company could do this, then that any other organization could easily, implement this in their organization. And you mentioned earlier micromanaging. That's the one good thing about outsourcing to us, that you don't have to micromanage because somebody else is doing that for you. You know that there's another person making sure that your work is getting done, right? So for you, you're only paying. Yeah, and for your you're only paying a fixed cost. You don't have to worry about any of the overhead costs. So you're paying an hourly fee, and that's it. Everything else, insurance or any other liability, your taxes, anything, you won't have to worry about. It's just a flat fee, hourly fee that you're paying for them.
It's like what I think people misunderstand, it's you're paying you as a vendor, as you would pay any other vendor that performs a service for you, a marketing company, a PR company, an ad company. I mean, you're pay. So what you mentioned, the taxes, we had that question earlier. I already knew the answer, but just if you can elaborate a little bit. So this person works as part of your team, but you're not having to worry about all the tax stuff that goes along with that.
No insurance, no tax. You don't have to worry about any of that because the employee is still our employee, right? A beyond outsourcing employee. They're extension of your team. They're only working on your account, but any of the liabilities that come with owning or hiring an employee is completely on us. So you don't have to worry about that.
I love it. I wish I had this early on when I had multiple offices, and because I see what it does for me now. And I know that as I grow, I want to do more of it. And like I said, I've become, addiction's probably the wrong word to use, but I have become dependent on and love the process so much. And it's just like anything, right? I want to ask you this because it's just like anything when you have an employer, when you're choosing a vendor, You could be set up with someone that Mandeep thinks is perfect, and for whatever reason, the relationship isn't
Doesn't
great.
work.
I mean, her whole goal is to get you with somebody that builds that relationship with you, correct?
Right. And then you are part of the interviewing process. So I'm not going to just, throw somebody at you and say, here you go, this person is going to be working with you. No, I'll give you the resumes, you review them. You are going to be actively involved in the interviewing process to make sure that employee is a good fit with you, and vice versa, that you're a good fit for the employee as well, right?
So costs, and I know I don't want to, I never ask anybody to quote exact costs, but we talked about how it's cost saving. Can you sort of take a little bit of information about that, kind of explain to them? For me as a business owner, the tax liability part savings alone was worth me doing that, because because as a business owner, you're paying a whole additional tax on top of the tax. Like it's crazy as a business owner.
Right.
So can you talk about costs though? Because I think people would say, well, they're from India, that might cost me too much money. How does it work without giving away the farm? Because everything's a different scenario.
Yeah. So at a high level, so take this as an example, don't hold me to the numbers, but as a high level, you could easily reduce your cost by 50%. And that's at the high level. I'm saying that, you could reduce it. And then as you get into the detail, it might even be more. For example, if you have a minimum wage employee in California. I think the minimum wage in California right now is 15, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you add the tax, and on top of that, you're going to add the insurance and the other liabilities that you might have as an employer, recruiting cost and training cost and all that stuff, right? You could easily go up to $20 an hour, easily, right?
Yeah.
When you're hiring an employee with me, depending on what skill set you're looking for, we could get you somebody at $10 an hour.
Right. It's huge, the savings. It really, you just have to realize all of that you're paying, and then all of that amazing time you're getting back, that you can now focus on the creative things that you need to do to continue to build your business and expand your business.
I'll give you an example. So I have a client who's she started with me 3 years ago, and at that time she was not familiar with this concept. I took her from end to end, explained to her how it's going to work, trained her employee here, team here as well. And after a year, she was completely on board. The business was being run from the team in India, and then 2 years ago she got cancer. So being the sole owner of that business, running that business 24/7, working, 70, 60 hours a week, and now you can't do that because you're going through your treatment, who's managing your business? If she was here, the business probably would have crumbled, right? But the team in India continued to work with her and manage the business. They stepped up, they helped her, and now the business, they not only managed it, but the business continued to grow.
That is a phenomenal story, because you don't think about that, guys. You don't have that backup plan as a business owner. As a business owner, it's everybody eats before you do usually. And so when you become ill, who's going to manage all that if you don't have the infrastructure or the team in place? What a blessing that is. That's a great example.
So it's almost like having a business partner, but not really having a business partner, right? Where Beyond Outsourcing is there to help you, not only in the good times, but also when these kind of tragedies hit as well.
So what's your motivation? Like, what gets you going in the day? You're a creative, I can tell, and you're also a problem solver for sure. But what keeps Mandeep going? Is it all work? Is there anything that keeps you settled and kind of stable and calm during all of this insanity we've been experiencing?
So what keeps me going are my employees, honestly, because all the employees that I have, I know that I'm not working for me, I'm working for them. They're supporting my organization, but financially they're putting food on the table by working for my clients, right? So it's not me. For me, it's working for something higher. On employees on one side, and then my clients on the other side. I'm just a person who's bridging that gap between the two. So
such a blessing what you're doing, Mandeep. I think it's so you coming on and sharing this. I never know how shows are going to go. I knew this was an important topic, but you are so calming. And that's what I think people want, because when they come to you, especially right now, a lot of people are in crisis mode. This isn't necessarily a proactive thing. They're trying to figure out how to salvage what they have and still keep afloat. So what a blessing for you to be able to help people out. And, you know, I have a very large following in India. So between the following in India and the people here in the States, what's the best way to reach out to you if they want to learn more?
So website, if you guys need additional information on the services that we offer and how to engage your employees, some of the topics, because we have a blog that's on there as well that just, it's a guidance of how to keep your employees engaged, even though they might be somewhere across the world, right? At the same time, the phone number, that's my direct cell phone number, so you don't have to go through any of my other assistants. It's a direct number to me, so you could have a direct conversation with myself.
Love it. What's it like being the person who has this company, and then I bet you must use some of your own outsourcing?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Because you can really speak it then. You're like, well, I use it too. And look, I'm running a successful business. You're an absolute joy. I want people to reach out to you because I think there are a lot of people who, I mean, the other companies like Fiverr, that's one thing, but you never get to speak to an individual. And so you can actually speak to Mandeep and really hash it out, work it out, detail it out with
personal
her.
Touch.
Yes, the personal touch is so critical. All right, bydoutsourcing.com. Mandeep Kaur, you're awesome. I want you guys to take a chance, reach out to her.
And we are local.
More.
We are in the U.S. So I'm actually from Wisconsin, and my partner's out in California. So we are based in the U.S.
Wisconsin. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to have you back on in a little while, and let's kind of get some updates. We're going to do some promo for this show because I personally know a lot of people who could at least utilize or use a conversation with you about your services. Thank you.
Ted.
All right. Beyond Outsourcing Inc., Mandeep Kaur, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.